I hope you'll join me right now for a 10-minute deep dive about attachment. I'm Devin Wolfe of WolfeWisdom.ca, and I use attachment theory to teach an emotion-focused approach so schools can think in relational ways and tune into child and teen emotional development. I work with groups of parents, groups of teachers, or groups of schools to apply attachment thinking. And this creates that natural habitat for kids that schools should be. So this 10-minute deep dive is going to be about attachment, a little bit about mental health, and then I'm going to cover the 5 bases that Alan Sroufe, who is an attachment researcher, that he describes that come out of good attachment relationships. So let's dive in. Did you know that attachment developmental theory is not just about infants and mothers? Attachment studies have also examined the important role of fathers and teachers. Fathers are crucial during that journey of pregnancy and childbirth for their partners. And the ability of our older kids to resolve emotional conflicts with siblings or peers is uniquely influenced by father and child or father and teen relationships. This is what John Bowlby talked about way back in the 1950s. When he compiled the original theory foundations for attachment. Bowlby described attachment relationships as the irreplaceable context for emotional development. This is why I follow attachment research. And studies are showing that the emotional sensitivities kids develop to feel that wide range of emotions and mixed feelings, which is really healthy, is impacted less by temperament and personality, and impacted much more by attachment relationships. There are some attachment studies to be wary of, though. Studies which labeled the categories of secure, insecure, ambivalent, and disorganized attachment styles have been somewhat debunked because these categories are not nearly as distinct or as long-lasting as first thought. Updated studies explain how attachment style is very flexible and changeable, especially during middle childhood when kids are, pulled into new relationships with people outside of their immediate family, peers, teachers, coaches, other people in the community that stretch their relational capacity. Today, we know, just as Freud suspected in the late 1800s, that separation from our attachments and even threat of separation is the key to understanding anxiety and depression. Anxiety is a piece of every mental health issue. Plus, anxiety left unchecked for too long actually creates its own brain architecture. And then brain pathways make anxiety habitual, easier and faster to flood the brain and body with worry. And this is especially true during childhood and the teen years when the brain is growing so quickly. So did you know that attachment is considered a basic biological drive? That both fear and attachment behavior are instinctive and don't rely on learning. This is because of our divine design or evolutionary habit of being safer in groups. But until the mid-1970s, when John Bowlby could explain this using attachment, common childhood fears like fear of the dark or loud noises or being alone, being separated. These were called irrational fears of childhood. Our biology ensures that we are highly motivated problem solvers to face challenging relationship issues, especially separation. So this will ensure our survival. And we have several survival instincts, which basically kick into gear when we try to protect ourselves in environments and relationships, but environments that are really challenging or even abusive. So yes, mental health, trauma, resilience, these are important themes in attachment theory. So let me know what you think about that crossover. My posts are about how to construct a sturdy foundation for healthy relationships, and that goes for at school, at home, but at school I'm focusing on. I post about mental health and attachment so schools can understand anxiety better. I post about trauma and attachment so families and schools can work together. And I post about resilience and attachment so communities appreciate that lifelong character of relationship networks, which become villages of attachment. Attachment that is safe and welcoming over middle childhood and the teen years provides what Alan Sroufe calls 5 bases These 5 are important to manage changing issues, in peer relationships as kids grow. But they're in no particular order here because all 5 bases can be engaged at the same time, and they're all really important. So here they are. The first is the motivation to connect. The next is the attitude to participate. The agency to explore and play. Emotions, an emotional base to feel and regulate. And then affection, this is a relational base. Affection to empathize and cooperate. These 5 bases actually become a really quick diagnostic test that you can use when you think about a child or teen that you worry about. So ask yourself these 2 questions. Which bases are strong or weak in this child I worry about? Or is the base missing altogether? So here are the 5 again in a bit more detail. Motivation to connect and partner. This is to take part in relationships. This is a will coming from the inside to want to be with others, to take part in relationships, even when they're difficult. Being a willing partner and keeping that conversation or activity going back and forth and be part of the relationship. To strengthen this base, be your natural, encouraging, positive self as the adult in charge and smooth the way for kids to accept each other. All right, the next one, the attitude to participate and set goals. These are participating in learning, growing, changing, setting goals for learning, setting goals for changing. This is a positive attitude to give attention to new learning, new ideas, to notice people who are doing something new or interesting. It's the attitude to ask questions, change the way that this child does things to use that new learning. Or a child will be wanting to set goals for what to learn next, thinking about who to look up to learn from, and have the energy to set new goals and practice or strive to do better. To strengthen this base, we need to show energy ourselves for that beginner brain, so kids realize learning is ongoing for everyone. Next is this agency to explore and play. And this is how kids will expand the world through their personal interests and personal strengths. This is the energy to try something new, explore where they haven't been before, take the initiative to enter a new place or a new activity, even if they don't quite get it or know the rules. They get to play with ideas or materials to see how these work and let their interest lead for a change. They're just going to follow their interest to wonder about what comes next. Notice their personal strengths and tell those, describe those to other people. So they get to know themselves a little bit better in this way. To strengthen this base, we need to give ample time for kids to explore new ideas and play with new materials. All right, emotions, to feel and regulate. This is so kids can know themselves, know how they feel, and know what they think. These are emotions that can activate us all. I mean, emotions do activate us. To be in the physical world, we could act out, we could be very expressive with emotions. But being able to name an emotion and know why it's there is to have feelings. So that is the beginning of I know myself and I know what I feel, I know what I think. I can tell someone else what's going on with me when I know these emotions. And by knowing my own feelings, I take a step toward emotional regulation in connection with others who join in to understand me. So to strengthen this base, help kids move from emotions to feelings by naming big emotions and staying with them until they're calm and collected. And then the affection to empathize and cooperate. This is the relational base, to understand others and enjoy a social life. Affection is a positive feeling, to see how things are perceived through someone else's eyes. Use a positive frame of mind to understand others. It's a want to cooperate and work together, to take on a project and share responsibility, and take part in a social outcome and feel important to the outcome actually happening. So to strengthen this base, we adults need to be a model of empathy, but with expectations of each student doing their part. Not because they're letting us down when they don't, but because they are so important to this class and so important to the activity that we need them. So this is just one piece of the attachment framework that I want to share with you over the next months. So please check in to my website, WolfeWisdom.ca, and that's Wolf spelled with an E on the end. You can sign up to get quizzes like this, or updated blogs, videos, guides, checklists, and lots more. I encourage feedback, so please send me comments, critique all of my postings. I look forward to hearing about what you think, so please speak up and message me. This conversation is important to support the mental health and emotional wellness of our kids. We cannot grow up for them, but they cannot grow up without us. Emotional development, I really love this topic.